Everything on my right. Is it 6:30? All right. The Board of Education meeting is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. The approval of the agenda. Unless there are objections, the agenda will be approved as printed. Are we good? All right. Roll call. We totally forgot about roll call. Roll call, Secretary Ristich. I'm all off, but this is not my normal seat, so I want to move.
It appears all members are present.
All right, now the approval of the agenda. No objections? Are we good? All right. We will now move on to celebrations of learning, starting with Assistant Superintendent Holly. Hello.
Good evening. I am very excited to introduce to you Ms. Lantine and her group of students that they're going to share a little bit about what they've been learning.
Hi there, my name is Adrienne Lantine. I teach 5th grade at Cooley Elementary. Tonight we come to you to share some of our learnings that we have been working on in science and ELA. I'm going to start out with a quick fact. Did you know that the Waterford School District serves breakfast and lunch every single day on styrofoam trays? Might not seem like a big deal, but it actually is a big deal. The styrofoam trays are not recyclable. They can be bad for your health, and there are many other options out there available. The 5th graders at Cooley have been very passionate about this topic. They have been working really hard. They have done lots of research. They have found evidence to support their thinking. They have written essays. They have created posters to educate others about this topic. And today, I have with me today some 5th graders that are going to share some of their research that they have done.
Hello, I'm Juliana Torres. I'm a 5th grader in Miss Lantine's class at Cooley Elementary. A couple of months ago, we had a lady come talk to us about how important it is to recycle. We asked her about our lunch trays and if they could be recycled. She said no, they cannot be recycled. We were surprised that our breakfast and lunch trays were not recyclable. All of the 5th graders at Cooley Elementary started researching the topic and learning more about it. We even did an essay on it. What we found was shocking. What we discovered in our research was not only that our breakfast and lunch trays are not recyclable, but we also learned that once they go to the landfill, it takes more than 500 years for them to break down. Yeah, you heard me right, more than 500 years. And that's just to break down. Then there are these things called microplastics that are left over in the environment, and those never break down. In fact, they stay on our earth forever.
Hello, my name is Oluwatamiwa Ogedingbe, and I'm a 5th grader from Cooley Elementary in Miss Dobrin's class. In addition to styrofoam trays being bad for the environment, I'm going to talk about how it's bad for the human body. Styrofoam trays can increase your chances of having health problems. Styrofoam has an extremely toxic chemical in it called polystyrene. It can lead to many health concerns. Be careful because styrofoam is toxic. When you are drinking or eating something hot off of it, the heat from your food causes the chemicals to spread out into your food. That means you are eating chemicals. Exposure to polystyrene can lead to vision, hearing, and memory loss. It can also cause problems in your central nervous system. Also, according to UCLAhealth.org, studies have linked exposure to styrene to genetic damage to white blood cells and to certain blood cancers. This information proves exactly how horrific styrofoam trays are. We could get cancer. We are being exposed to this highly toxic chemical every single day, breakfast and lunch. That's absurd. Waterford School Board members, don't you think the students of Waterford School District deserve better?
Hello, my name is Charlie Gower. I'm a 5th grader from Cooley Elementary in Ms. Fontaine's class. I'm going to tell you some alternative choices we can use instead of styrofoam. Even though styrofoam trays are cheap, there are many choices we can use instead of styrofoam. First, we can go back when you were little and use reusable plastic trays. These trays can be washed and used again, so we don't have to throw away any trays. Another idea is that we can use cardboard or paper trays if you don't want to hire anyone to wash the plastic trays. According to greenpaperproducts.com, it states we make strong and durable school trays made from sustainable sugarcane bagasse, wheat straw, and bamboo fiber. This shows that there are other options available other than styrofoam trays. In addition, these trays are made out of natural ingredients. Therefore, they can break down and grow into the environment, into the soil with no damage. Another choice is that students can bring their own trays from home. This means that the school does not have to spend money on trays, and instead they can spend it on more exciting stuff like a new soccer field. As you can see, there are many environmentally friendly alternatives we can use instead of styrofoam.
In conclusion, as you can see, styrofoam trays are a terrible option for our students in the Waterford School District. They are terrible for the environment, they are actually bad for our health, and there are so many alternative options available to choose from. We plan on staying in the district all the way until we graduate high school We still have 7 more years of schooling. Please don't continue to use these terrible trays. Please use something that is better for our health and better for our planet.
Thank you for having us and listening.
Well, we should like to thank you for coming and sharing all that information with us. That was so well presented, and the facts were just amazing. You all did a wonderful job, and I see that you have some other friends here with you too. So you did a great job. Thank you. It's definitely a lot to think about, so what, besides the woman coming to talk, what else, what other research besides, you said UCLA.org, if you don't mind coming back up, that'd be great, girls.
Well, we did research when Miss Lantine, she asked us, what do you think we should do about this? She thought that we should do essays or posters, so we all worked hard on essays. We researched different topics. I found out that styrofoam trays, even though it's toxic, a really horrible fact is that it depletes the ozone layer. A terrible fact is that it's in the air and it's even on your skin when you use it, because when your food is hot, it's gonna produce chemicals back and you're eating chemicals.
Very interesting. I'm sure there's other members here that also have more questions for you. Anyone? More questions?
Make a statement. So I really appreciate that you guys presented a problem and you proposed a solution, because that's something that we don't always see, that people, they bring forth the problem and the problem and the problem, but there are no solutions or there are no compromise. So for you guys to take the time to do the research and to present a solution to the problem, is really an admirable thing to do, a really awesome thing that you did. And I think that, the fact at the beginning that Ms. Lantine had stated that, did you know that we have, the breakfast and lunch in the school, and I think, yeah, we all, then you say, but on styrofoam trays. I didn't know that until this problem was posed and I began to hear about it. So, and I think that's a really good thing. because as school board members and trustees, we're tasked with doing different things and making decisions, and we do have power and authority to make decisions in the direction of the school district, but we don't know what's happening unless people speak up in the community and tell us. So thank you.
Member Patricia?
You spoke wonderfully. I get nervous in front of people. You all did such a wonderful job. I'm jealous. But again, it's something obviously we're going to look into, but they make styrofoam trays for a reason. They're using them all over the world. What is the good, the bad? That things will be looked into, because again, no one puts out something that's going to hurt somebody. Are there better options? What is the cost? Does it cost this so we can have half the schools with trays, half none? There's all kinds of things to consider, but it is something that I can guarantee you that we will be looking at. So thank you.
Member McGregor?
I just wanted to say I am so proud of all of you, because this is really important to learn as you grow up. It's important to research things, but also to speak out about the things that you care about. And it's important to keep doing that. So thank you.
Member Ristich?
I'd just like to say, as a writing professor who spends a lot of time grading essays and presentations, A+.
Yes, your passion definitely came through. You did such an amazing job. You should all be very proud of yourselves and proud of yourselves for sticking up for your school community as well. So not just doing it because it was an assignment, and this was amazing. You did a wonderful job. Thank you. Lots to think about, absolutely. In fact, we would love, if there's any way we could get their presentation, that would be great to have.
Sure.
If you could send it to us so we have it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You guys did great.
I want to mention our next presentation is the middle school, so you guys are fifth graders, so you might want to stick around for that, because it's going to be your school next year.
And thank you to all the parents who brought the kids. I know some of them, so thank you very much. That was important. Thank you for helping support them as well. All right, so next up, we do have our middle school. We have middle school highlights and updates from Assistant Superintendent Wolf.
All right, well, that was an adorable and very tough act to follow, gentlemen. But we have our middle school team here, and I'm excited to give them a chance to share just a few highlights and updates with you. Besides Kyle Schultz, principal at Pierce, and Steph Henning, principal at Mason. Behind me, we have our other two team members, and we have been a team this year. We got Cliff Snitkin, assistant principal at Mason, and Shelly Sandrowski, assistant principal at Pierce. All right, thanks, guys. Really appreciate you guys having us. Happy to be here. I just want to say before we start that, I've been in the district for 20 years. I love working in Waterford, and never have felt more supported and part of a team than working with Mr. Wolf and his leadership, and Mr. Holly and all the work that he's done. And Steph has been a great addition. I think that us being on the same page has made a huge difference in the leadership in the middle school. So I wanted to highlight a couple things that we've been doing in the middle school, a couple of initiatives, a little bit on opposite sides of the spectrum. Mine's going to be more about teaching the whole child. We know now more than ever that our students need more than just academics. They need the social, emotional, behavioral. We need to reach the students in all ways. And we've been doing that for a long time, but we could do better. And so what we are piloting this year is something that we call the Pirate Hour, and at Pierce they call it the Mariner Day. Very similar. It is a dedicated time where all students are learning the same thing, whether it be PBIS lesson, whether it be an SEL lesson. It's things that we've done in the past, but not as uniformly and consistently as we're doing it now. And it's made a huge difference. So PBIS is a intervention support system where we not only have consistent and school-wide expectations for students, but we reward students for that positive behavior. So for example, when students are doing the right thing, they get these little golden tickets at Pierce. And we do a drawing every week, and they get on the announcements, and they get to come pick up a prize. And we get to recognize the students doing what's right. And you'll see students, asking for the golden tickets and trying to do better because of those things. And to be honest with you, the recognition on the announcements is probably enough, but my assistant principal, Shelly Sandrowski, does a great job of putting together baskets and things like that. You wouldn't be surprised if you know Shelly, what she's putting together. And the kids love that stuff. And so it's just those little things, but also the consistent message from every staff member at the same time. It's really helped us utilize that teaming concept where everybody's part of a team. Our support staff, our counselors, our social workers, Shelly and myself, we're all part of a team where we support that team during that pirate hour. And I know that Mason's doing the same thing. The other part of this is social emotional learning. And this focuses more on these CASEL 5 core competencies. CASEL core competencies are the self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. And I know that all of us who have had middle school students or middle schoolers ourselves know that those kids really need help in those areas. So it's about teaching those students about themselves, essentially. Middle school is such an important developmental year for them to figure out who they are. And so for us to be able to help them with that and know that they're not doing it alone has made a huge difference. We were using the second step of curriculum, which is all, right here. It is uses the CASEL 5 core competencies, and we were using it in social studies at Pierce. And to be honest with you, I don't think it was consistently rolled out, and not everybody had a stake in it. Now every teacher, every staff member is delivering the lessons. Now they're different per grade level, but delivering those lessons at the same time on the same day, and it's made a huge difference. And honestly, what we're seeing is much better behavior from the students, more empathy for each other, more caring. We've seen a huge reduction in our behavior, our discipline, which means more students in the classroom, less disruptions to the learning environment, and we really believe and know that it's going to show up in our academic achievement as well. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Henning, who's going to talk about the less exciting maybe, but more still important curriculum.
All right, so I'm going to talk about just Tier 1 progress monitoring and what we're doing with HMH and our math curriculum with Savas. But just in any education, in order to close the achievement gap, in order to provide the best instructional setting for our students, your Tier 1 instruction in that curriculum has to be top tier. And this curriculum with HMH and Savas does that. So one thing that I would like to just highlight is, and just give acknowledgement even though they're not here, is our literacy and math consultants, Devin McKee and Lauren Wiseman. They have created this pacing guide, and with this pacing guide, not only admin, but every teacher has it. And it's just great for me because when I walk into a classroom, I roughly know where they should be at with their pacing, with their curriculum. And when they're not there, it's not like I got your moment. It's what are the roadblocks? How can I help? How can I assist? And that just opens up more dialogue and more conversations of how we can be better. Another thing that is really useful about the pacing guide is just the different reports with these curriculums, such as the usage reports for monitoring implementation and the common assessments, which I will dive into here in more slides, but just having these common assessments, having a pacing for when these assessments should be implemented opens up more dialogue of how we are doing collectively, which you'll see a bit more in a second. So here, this is one of my favorite, is this progress monitoring, more at the Tier 2 level with Dreambox and Lexia in both Pierce and Mason. We're doing this, we send this out every Monday, and it shows. So I but I met with our reps from Dreambox and Lexia to just understand the intervention program and understanding what should I strive for at Mason. For an example, our Lexia, our Lexia is more of our reading intervention. I wanted to know what is a practical usage percentage at Mason. So I came up that we're working with the rep from Lexia, we're at about 55% usage rate. And for Dreambox, we came up with talking with the rep, about 70% of students should complete at least 5 or more lessons per week. So having that to strive for, my teachers know not only are they encouraging their kids, but when we send this out, so we send out a diagram, this is, I believe, Pierce's, but ours is identical, and we send it out to all teachers. We make it public. And if a grade level is low or a teaching partnership is low, it's not like, once again, I gotcha. It's more just in order for us to be better, our learning has to be visible, but our expectations for each other has to be visible. So it just opens up collaboration, and we make it cool, we make it exciting. Like at both schools, for us, we borrowed a huge championship trophy from Jeff Jason. We took off the basketball logo and we put the Dreambox logo on it, and whoever has the highest percentage that week, they are the champions of the week, and that is posted outside in their hallway. So it just creates competition, but also it creates, pride for students and pride for those teachers with these intervention programs. And lastly, our PLC action plans and data protocols. This, I would say, with the leadership and from Mr. Wolf, has been a game changer. Many times with these, we can say we're PLC, professional learning communities, but it could be just a gripe session for teachers, right? So everything that we do in our PLCs is focused on data. Data drives instruction. Data drives our next step. So having these protocols that we have here, whether Johnny has had a rough week or not, that's not the focus. It's more so, what questions did Johnny get wrong on this assessment? Is that the majority? Is that a trend? And what do we need to do to make sure all students are grasping these concepts? So having that focus not only in our PLCs, it also helps in all aspects of when we're looking at curriculum. And let me see if I have another note here about it. It's just being done the right way with PLCs. And I would lastly just say the alignment, like Mr. Schultz here talked about with our PBIS and SEL, what we're doing, this same alignment helps even more. If we're aligned with how we want to grow our students with our SEL, but also having that same alignment of how we want to teach and implement this curriculum, is only going to make the middle school stronger. That's all I got.
All right. Questions? Does anyone have any questions? Member Ristich?
Yeah, Mr. Schultz, Mr. Schultz and Sandrowski have both of my sons over at Pierce, and, every day, the wildest thing is they love to go to school. They just love it. They are up every day, out at the bus stop. They come home. I get a full recap. I don't have to pull teeth. I don't have to beg. I get a full day's recap every single day, and I just think it speaks to all of the amazing work that you and the staff are doing over there at Pierce. It's middle school is a tough time, and I watch my sons, and they are just thriving. So cheers to both of you and your teams.
We appreciate that, and we have a great staff that's a huge part of that.
Member Torres?
So I'm looking at the slide on the Tier 2 progress monitoring. So you have them all listed then, and then you have their meeting usage percentages, right? And then so that they can, this is public to all of the teachers, so that they can kind of see in a competition amongst each other of ways, which I really like. I like that idea, because you need to have the data in order to know the results, and the results in order to hit the marks of where you're at. And I think, fostering all in the idea of that, my class is up, your class is down, what are you doing that I can do to get where you're at, right? Because ideally, we'd want to see everybody kind of coupled around in the same percentage areas. Yeah. So, but I mean, I like that. And it's shared amongst, I'm assuming, buildings, teachers, and then admin, correct? And then you guys can look and compare and contrast.
Yep. And even the, I don't know, we can't click on that link, but the Tier 1 and the PLC data protocol, Mason and Pierce are both on there. And so like our common assessments, things like that. So our Tier 1 common assessments, they're both there so they can see each other's progress. It's really helped with our pacing. And they can compare, like, what's Mason doing well, because they're getting this standard, and we can have those conversations that we were never able to have before.
And I could say before at Mason, they weren't doing this. They weren't making it public. So in my first year, I'm like, am I going to rock the boat by my teachers? In staff meetings or them just seeing who I am, we're in this together, and we need to make each other better. So what came out of it, like my 6th grade group in Dreambox, they're just rock stars, and they are the reigning champs 15 weeks in a row. But it lended itself for Mr. Faber to talk about, yeah, my numbers are there, but behind the scenes, I send out a weekly message to all parents every week, no matter if we're doing well or not, and that consistent message of this is important at home. So that lends itself to other teachers like, yeah, I haven't sent out a message about Dreambox in a month or so. So just having those, we wouldn't have been able to have those conversations together if we didn't make it public of what we're doing.
And do you guys compare between the two schools too as well? So you have it at Pierce and then you have it at Mason? Do you guys?
I reach out to Shelly because she sends it out on the Pierce's end. So we connect and we look at numbers together. So that is something, but I think that is something that I would like to grow to just making it public across both schools.
Thank you.
Member Patricia?
I just want to say thank you. Again, it's above me, but you guys seem to understand it. It sounds good, so thank you.
Member McGregor?
I just had a quick question, and I know this is kind of difficult to do, so I don't know if this is actually happening or not. Is there any way, I know you said you have like Pirate Hour, for example, and this is when you do the social emotional learning. Does any of that cross-tie with the curriculum that you're teaching at the moment in other parts of the classroom?
I would say this, so because every teacher is speaking the same language now, so every teacher knows what second step is, has been trained in second step, knows the curriculum, knows what was taught that week in second step. So they have those opportunities to refer back. If it's part of the curriculum, then they can refer back to that, and everybody's speaking that same language. So yes, when those opportunities are there, teachers can definitely do that because they all, social studies, math, language arts, even our elective teachers are part of one of those teams. So they can all speak the same language.
And I would say too, when it comes to that, when we do our Mariner Way Day once a month, every staff member is involved. We even have some custodials pop in, but Cliff and I, we're in a classroom, our front office secretaries, we leave one secretary in the office, but ancillary staff, every person is in a classroom being involved in these lessons. So, and we do it for us by the cadence of our building. So if we're seeing something around gossip and rumors, that's the focus. Next week we have our Mariner Way Day, and it's going to be more around like test prep and what you need to do in order to get ready for testing with NWEA testing coming up. So once again, everybody knows the language and kind of knows the expectations so they can refer back to it at any moment.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to say thank you as a former Pierce Pirate mom who had my kids. I always appreciate Mr. Schultz and Mrs. Sandrowski, a great, fabulous team. But at the same time, I have lots of families that are at Mason that I know personally, and you are knocking it out of the park. It has been nothing but positive about both of you, what's going on over there. It's so amazing to hear this buzz of like positivity and good things, and I love that we are aligning because that's how we should have always been, and to know that you two are working together, that your teams are working together, that this is a group effort to bring all of our kids up and be on the same page. It's amazing. So we are incredibly grateful to all of you and to both schools and your teams.
Thank you.
All right, and would you like to have a picture? I see all of you sitting here. We forgot to do a picture with the elementary group, and we'd love to get a picture with the middle school group. If you want to head up over here maybe with your teacher, and then we could maybe with the middle schoolers get a picture with you two if you're good with that.
There's no middle school.
Oh, they're all elementary? Oh, I thought, okay, sorry. You two are off the hook. You two are completely off the hook now. I'm with you, I hate pictures, but Sarah knows that. All right, thank you both. Thank you very much. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
One, two, three. Now stay so they can get a good picture. Go over and do a picture.
Great job, guys. You are rock stars. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And thank you, parents, for bringing them and staying. We appreciate you very much. All right. We are now moving on to public comments on action items. Does anyone, I don't have any green cards. Is anyone here that would like to speak on action items? All right, I'm going to take that as a no.
I think we need the papers.
Our consent agenda, I cannot talk today. Unless there are objections, the consent agenda is approved as presented. Are there any objections? All right, we will approve the consent agenda. We're going to move on to information items with the tentative agreement with WEA, and welcome to Mrs. File.
Good evening, board members. I am happy to present to you this evening the tentative agreement for the Waterford Education Association. Last fall, we had several mediated negotiations regarding our tentative agreement that you have a copy of before you, yes? Yes, okay. And this was put forth before the membership. It was not passed at that time. However, the WEA came back to us and said that they would like to try again. And so the leadership put forth the vote again and had an overwhelming amount of positive votes as well as percentage of voters. And so I present to you this evening that was ratified by the membership, that it includes several pieces. The first being each member that was step eligible got a step, and that occurred last August automatically. And for those members who were already on the top step, they received an off-schedule payment of $1,200 for the year. In addition, we worked very hard together to put forth the special education stipends, which we know the shortage of special education educators and how vital they are to our district. And the details are there before you. And lastly, the last two items, we worked very hard on updating our Schedule B, which it's called. And Schedule A is the schedule of salary, routine contract salary. Schedule B is known as everything else, such as athletics, additional curriculum work that our teachers engage in. And that was updated. FTE was placed to that. It was renewed. Big collaboration across the district with administrators and as well as our union representatives. And lastly, we have our agreement on our teacher evaluation. You probably know that that was one of the pieces that was formerly a prohibited subject, came back into a negotiated piece. We worked hard on that last spring, and that also is in place. And we have been putting that into the evaluation process as it stands. We've been working through that all through the year.
All right, are there any questions? Thank you so much to your team, to our Waterford Education Association, to our union. It's wonderful when we see these things work out and come together, and very appreciative of the hard work that you and your team did to get this to pass.
If I could just jump in here for a minute. Thank you.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Again, it's all beyond me. I'm just saying thank you.
Oh, okay. I was like, go ahead, Rob.
We didn't have a copy of it in here, but we had it on the electronic, I thought, right? Because I was looking,
Yeah.
I remember reading it, so. No, I was good with it. I was just trying to reference back, so I'm just looking at it here on my phone, so. But I saw we did have an electronic copy, and it was signed, and the union was in agreement, and they signed off on it as well, so it looked all good to me, so I just was trying to reference it, so.
Certainly. It was signed in January 7th, and we put it forth before you tonight here in February, and payments will begin in March.
Thank you.
Upon approval.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to the sale of the 2020 bonds, Series 3, with Assistant Superintendent Hildebrandt.
Good evening, trustees. I'm here with Stephen Burke, our financial advisor. As a backdrop, in August of 2020, our community graciously approved a $150 million bond issue, which was a multi-year issue. We previously have issued Series 1 and Series 2. Series 1 was for $35 million back in August of 2020. Series 2 was issued February of 2023 for $70 million. And now we're coming forth with information to request support for issuing the final series in the amount of $45 million. As background to this, we're looking to have this come out now so that we have the proceeds available. We know of several municipalities that are going to have bonds on the May election. We'd like our paper to hit ahead of that time to take advantage of the market. In addition, at this point in time, we had originally anticipated that we would be about 50% completed with our projects. We were able to move up some projects. We're actually over 80% completed. So we really do need these proceeds. So I would entertain any questions, and Stephen is here to help support.
All right, any questions?
And if I could just say one thing.
Sure, absolutely.
This is well over 6 years in the making that we've worked on this final series here in this entire 2020 election. I know a few weeks ago, I got a chance to kind of come around the corner. I'm not over in this area of town very often. We live in Livingston County, and Stefanski was right there, and it was awesome to see. My kids were in the car. It's always fun to go, hey, this is what Dad does at work. What a beautiful, beautiful building and a beautiful set of projects, and I'm very proud to have been a tiny part of this over the years. And I know that some new faces and then some older faces. I know last time I think I was in front of you, I think we were on Zoom, so it's great to be back in person, obviously, and we're very proud to be a part of it. I know that your staff and your professionals have worked very, very diligently on this over the years, so it's a proud moment to complete this final authorization and be able to complete all of these projects for the district.
Well, we definitely appreciate you being part of it. Member Ristich?
So by getting out ahead of the bonds that might be on May ballots, that will advantage us just by, there will be fewer on the market to sell, correct?
Correct.
At the end of the day, all of the bonds are state of Michigan's credit. So given that there's potentially 30-plus bond issues that are on the May ballot, and several of those would like to go right away, is our understanding. We don't want to be in a position where the district needs money and we're coming at the same time as 15 or 20 others in the middle of the summer, kind of an odd time for school bonds to come. So I think it's a prudent decision. The market's doing well. We had two bond issues in the market yesterday for Oakland County, and one got 7 bids and one got 10, and they were both well oversubscribed. Everything was great. So certainly not as low as some of these bond issues have been in 2021 and 2023, but it's certainly, the market is still, we would expect somewhere around 3.5% for these, and your staff's done a great job of continuing to try to
lower the amount of years, lower the duration of these, lower your interest costs over the time, and be real good fiduciaries of your taxpayers' funds.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We definitely appreciate that you're looking out for us and doing this early so that we will benefit from it in the long run. So thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments?
Are there any questions we should be asking you? You know these things. I mean, it's like, well, this year, but.
No, I think that the challenge is if you had a crystal ball, you could always time the market perfectly right, but if we had one, we would be all out trading interest rates and not sitting here and.
I wouldn't be here.
Freezing, in the cold, so. There's always, you can always second guess, and, sometimes you look back and you go, oh gosh, I wish we would have timed differently, or, oh gosh, we did an awesome job, but at the time it seemed like it was, going to be challenging. So, don't know the future of interest rates, but again, borrowing at 3.5%, I think anytime you can borrow at 3.5%, that's a pretty good rate, and as long as, as your tax-exempt bonds, tax-exempt bonds are under threat currently at the federal level. That's one thing that Congress has discussed in Ways and Means is removing the tax exemption from municipal bonds. So if you have any contact with your federal representation, now would be a good time to say, hey, this is what municipal bonds and tax exempt bonds have been able to do for Waterford School District. And if you were to take this away, it's literally just a direct pass through to your property owners. So instead of 3.5%, the bonds would be 5%, and your property owners would be paying that much extra. So it is a de facto tax increase if that happens. So if you have any contact with Congress folks here in the district, that would be a good time to mention, please support the continuation of tax exempt financing for local governments.
Thank you, and thank you for that, for sure. That's great information to get out to our public that might not be aware that that is one of the consequences of some of the things that might be changing. So thank you very much. All right, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I'm going to stay in the hot seat.
Yes, absolutely. Don't move, because we're moving right on to asbestos abatement at Pierce Middle School.
So also as part of the August 4th, 2020 bond, there's some work that's being planned for the Pierce gym. And during the review and planning for that, it was discovered that under the mastic of the gym, there is asbestos that needs to be abated. Nova Environmental Group went out to bid, put the bids out. In your package, you have their recommendation letter as well as the bid tab. They're recommending that we award this to Trust Thermal Abatement, which was the lowest bidder, according to what was submitted. And we'll be seeking approval for this at the March meeting.
Okay. Do you know if we have worked with this company before on any of our other buildings to do any of our other abatement?
I did not look to see if Trust Thermal had done abatement with Waterford. I'm familiar with them from Bloomfield Hills.
Okay.
Without any issues.
Okay.
I'm very familiar with Nova Environmental from Bloomfield without any issues.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So they have done other school districts?
They have done a lot.
So this kind of project, these kinds of buildings?
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we are moving on to new business. Treasurer Donahue?
Superintendent's recommendation 45-24-25, tentative agreement, Waterford Education Association. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the tentative agreement with the Waterford Education Association as approved by its membership for the 24-25 school year. I so move.
Support.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Oh, sorry, comments and questions? I'm just trying to move us along out of here. I feel like we.
I will be abstaining from this vote because my wife is a member.
I actually just have a question. Something that was mentioned, and sorry, I should have asked this ahead of the meeting, but I didn't really think about it far enough in advance. With the teacher evaluations being brought in, how is that changing things this year with this agreement?
So we are using the same platform, which is the Charlotte Danielson platform that we've used traditionally before. So that didn't change. We are still using Frontline as our management tool, so that didn't change, right? Really what the great piece about our collaboration is what's best for administrators and teachers together to best support our educators in teaching and learning, right? I think one of the hallmarks I saw that came straight out of the legislation was the requirement of the mid-year progress report. And that helps, we're finding that was just due in earlier this month. That really helps the teachers as well as the administrators to identify very clearly in writing what's going well, what needs work, what steps they need to take to improve, as well as the specific professional development pieces that they can take advantage of to improve. So it really put a great consistency across, I would say, the entire platform of evaluations. We also went from per the state's mandate, from a 4-level, highly effective, that type, to 3. And our teachers and our administrators are doing seemingly really well. This is our first year, and we knew that in that first year, we're going to come back together as we start negotiations this spring, hear from teachers, hear from administrators, what's working well, what's not, what tweaks do we need to make. Thank you.
All right, are we ready for the vote? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All right. 6-0. Treasurer Donahue?
Superintendent's recommendation 46-24-25, bond authorizing resolution. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the attached resolution for the issuance of school district bonds, Series 2025, 2020 Bond Series 3, not to exceed $45,228,968. The resolution is for the third series of the 2020 bond. I so move.
Support.
All right, are there any comments and questions? All right. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 7-0. And you're still up, Treasurer Donahue.
All right. Superintendent's recommendation 47-24-25, revised school code section 1352 resolution. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the attached resolution enabling the Waterford School District to comply with the provisions of section 1352 of the revised school code with respect to contracting for legal representation by a law firm for the school district's issuance of its school district bond. Dickinson Wright is Waterford School District's legal counsel for this bond issuance and works in conjunction with the district's capital bond advisor, Stephen Burke of MFCI. I so move.
Support.
All right, are there any comments or questions? All right. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 7-0. And we are now moving on to Secretary Ristich for the policy, the student records.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the proposed revision to policy 8330, student records, and I so move.
Second.
Any comments and questions?
Question?
Member Torres?
So what was the spirit behind this? Was it just the one change? I know we got to collect information on students, and saw there was just the one section in there on place of birth. Is that it? That's all we're changing? Okay, and that's just more for privacy issue or what?
Correct.
Okay. And that was the only revision we were making?
Correct.
Thank you.
Member Patricia?
Is it mandated by law, or is it,
It is not.
okay, we're just kind of a preemptive type?
We were providing more than was necessary.
Okay, we were giving up too much stuff. So when the police officer asks you something, you say yes and no? Don't say too much?
Yeah, we don't have any.
Member McGregor?
And it is my understanding, looking through this, that anybody could request from the school district for a form, and that they could request that any of the directory information not be shared. That's correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 7-0. And we are back to Treasurer Donahue for the consideration of certain purchases.
I don't have to read this. Oh, motion's on the supplemental. Please hold.
Sorry, that was a little fast.
Okay, sorry. Superintendent's recommendation 49-24-25, elementary playgrounds improvements, site work, and equipment. It is recommended that the board approve the award to Michigan Recreational Construction Incorporated in the amount of $356,800 for playground equipment installation, and Jacqueline Contracting LLC in the amount of $449,000 for site work, for a total of $805,800 for BP 25-03A elementary playgrounds, Cooley and Haviland Elementary Schools. It is further recommended that the board approve the award to Michigan Recreational Construction Incorporated in the amount of $495,650 for playground equipment installation, and Jacqueline Contracting LLC in the amount of $649,000 for site work, for a total of $1,144,650 for BP 25-03B elementary playgrounds, Schoolcraft, Riverside, and Knudsen Elementary Schools. It is further recommended that the board approve the purchase of playground equipment through Game Time in the amount of $1,528,200. Funding is the 2020 bond. I so move.
Support. Are there any comments and questions? Or questions? Member Patricia?
I have some concerns with it. We haven't done a building utilization study in years. It's something that we've talked about. I'm trying to think, I'm losing names right now. 2 superintendents ago.
Keith Wonderlick?
Yes, when Keith was here, he was talking about, some things that we might have to look at. And then when Scott got here, he goes, I know you guys were, talking about this a little bit, but he didn't want to come in and just start changing things up. That's just not a good thing to piss people off. And I'm not suggesting that we should be closing buildings, because I don't want to do that either. But without a site utilization of our facilities to find out what we have, what we don't have. I did a quick, I had some numbers given to me. In our elementaries alone, we have almost 800 empty chairs. And again, every chair is a different shape. You can't just put X's and O's. It has to fit. There's so much more to it, and that's what the utilization study would help me with. Both of my high schools, I didn't realize, are both less than 1,000 students. When I went there in the 70s, I believe Kettering was close to 2. Mott was, I think, a little bigger, and we also had Township. But my middle schools are at a very low number. Pierce, a little over 700. We have openings somewhere. I'm not suggesting we just rearrange everything, but without having a study to tell me what we should or shouldn't be doing, we're talking about millions of dollars here going into a building that might not be there in a few years. A few years ago, we had put a bunch of money into Waterford Village and then closed it. And I remember that part. And I'm a little behind on catching up on the playground stuff. We did just put some in. And it isn't just the equipment. The equipment is actually cheaper than the land prep. So it isn't like you can just move the swing set, because again, it's It's prepping for all these things to put them in. And after what we spent on the kitchens at some of the elementary schools that we closed, we were just spending money, and we always need roofs. I can use this money somewhere else, or there, we may do a study and say, well, we can't do anything with any of the buildings because of the locations, we have to keep them. I don't know, but without that, I need information. I can't support putting, excuse me, putting more money into buildings that might not be here in a few years. And I understand, well, we're putting it off, kids need it now, they want it now. We had the same thing when we had COVID, when we had the recession. We were 5 or 6 years behind on building some of the buildings because we didn't have the tax money. So again, these things happen, they're tragedies, but I think it'd be more of a tragedy if we spend money without knowing what our plan is. Before I got on the board, I followed school district or school boards because I had family in the business, and I would question them on it. And one of the things that happened, school districts that were failing tended to hang on to their buildings too long. I don't want to close it, and I understand that. I'm not suggesting that we do, but without having that knowledge that I don't possess, I can't support putting money into these things. So,
Are there any other comments or questions? Member Torres?
A couple comments, questions. So as far as our student enrollment trends, are we still trending down? I know we kind of stabilized. I mean, when I first came on the board in 2014, we were at like 500, almost 600 loss of students, but then we stabilized that over the years. We were getting better, then COVID hit, and people were going to private schools and all those kinds of things and charters. And then we kind of got back in place and stabilized, but we're still on the downtick, aren't we, for losing students, or are we stabilized?
We are on a downtick. I'll answer that because pretty much every school district in Michigan is
right. Yeah.
The birth rates continue to go down. We have seen a bump in our kindergarten numbers, which, you know, as that kind of moves through our system, when we have higher kindergartners, you know, if it's higher than the graduating seniors, then we start to build some momentum there. But, you know, last year we were above budgeted projection, but we were still down some students, not many, but we were still down.
And the overall goal is we're trying to get on the uptick of students, and, you know, hence having the Sapansky Early Childhood Center. Yeah, or stabilize, but eventually get on the up, because I know when we brought in Stepanski, the idea was that we're going to bring students in, get them attached to the school district, and they'll stay here instead of going to one of the other districts, or we can bring them in through school choice, as we do through kindergarten and first grade. Now, are we in a position where we can do a facility study? Because I remember there was talk about it, and going back to when Wonderlic was here, when he was getting to the end of his tenure, he was talking about the idea of maybe we need to consolidate schools, maybe there may be a building, and then he left, and then that conversation, I remember there was kind of a warm handoff on that topic, but then Scott came in and says, you know, I'm in my first year, let me figure things out. COVID hit, then that was kind of out the window. And the thought is that we don't want to, we're talking about $250,000 for a school to put playground equipment, which is awesome. The kids love it. You know, my fifth grader right there, I mean, they look forward to that playground time, and it's just much as a part of school and the experience and the curriculum as the academics, really, because they need that time to get out there. So are we in a position where we could do a facility study, or is this something that you know, you or Lisa could comment on? Is that something you think we need to wait for our eventual new superintendent that comes in?
Do you want me to speak on that, Lisa, or do you want?
I'm happy to answer. I mean, it's certainly always a possibility to do a facilities utilization study. There are a number of ways to do that. A lot of districts hire an outside company to come in and do that because that's a non-biased third party, but that does cost money. The last time we did that for the school closings that you were referencing, John Paul, the district did it internally, It does take a period of time. It's not
Few months,
something,
wasn't
it takes months, yes, because you literally walk through every building and talk about what the spaces are utilized for and things like that. So it's personnel heavy, or it's a financial commitment to hire an outside company. But at the board's discretion, we can do whatever you choose to have us do.
And I was going to say, I think that is something that we as a board, because we as a board collectively have not put that on as something that we had Scott work on for the last few years. It was not on our priority list at the time because there was a number of things going on. So I think that's something that we would need to add to a COW meeting to talk about a building utilization, because it has to be something that we as a board agree on. So I do think that that is something that we have said that should be a discussion item. I think there was some thoughts around the fact that we might want to wait until we do have the new superintendent come in, starting as July 1st. But that is something we should be looking at adding to a COW meeting so that we can discuss it as a board and be able to give our administrators the direction that they need. I also would just like to remind everybody that this was in our bond in 2020. It was in our bond language that we would be doing this for our elementary schools and our playgrounds. My understanding is, I know that there would be site work, but that the equipment could be moved. And so we wouldn't be completely losing out on that money. Also, there are a couple things that we should keep in mind that are in play. We have universal preschool that hopefully will become law sooner than later. We're working on that as a state. And in 2025, 2026, kindergarten will no longer be compulsory, it will be law. So that will also increase our student enrollment, because we will see kindergartners by law will have to be in school. So that could play, that could definitely impact some of our buildings and how they're structured. Definitely, everyone hopes to see an uptick in student population, but we need to pressure our community for birth rate population to go up, so not making light of that. But definitely just keep in mind that this was in our bond language that our community passed in 2020, and we are upholding what we said we would do with that bond money, and that needs to be factored in as well. Member Ristich?
Ms. Hildebrand, what comprises the site work? Are we putting walking paths in at these? Because I know
So
that
there are walking paths around each one of the playgrounds.
that's included in the site work.
And part of the site work is preparing the site as well as helping with the installation of playground equipment. Carla, correct?
Yeah.
So there's the site work we're doing, we actually have to cut out all of the playground areas. We're putting some drain tiles, some drainage underneath. They're removing all the pea gravel. They are demoing the playground equipment, putting in the paths, installing some.
Carla, could you, we were having a hard, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Welcome, Carla Ramirez. We've all.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so the site contractor, they're going to be, laying out, it's all getting redesigned, so they have to lay out the area. They're going to be removing all the pea gravel. They're going to be putting in some drain tiles and some other drain items that are going to be needed. They're also going to be demoing the playground equipment as required, seating, temporary fencing. I believe that's mostly what they're doing. And then the playground installers, they're actually, the equipment that's getting relocated, they're responsible for that part. They're also re-inspecting after they relocate the equipment. They're installing the playground equipment. They are also installing the engineered wood fiber. So.
Does that all fall under the heading of site?
No, that was just playground. Yeah, the site work was the first portion I was identifying, yeah.
Oh, Member Torres?
So when would this project be done? It would be done this summer?
It will be done before start of school.
Before start of next year's school year.
And that's the reason we have two separate bid packages. We had to be a very aggressive schedule because last year was very tight with the 4 schools in one summer.
Yeah, for me, it's tricky because, I think the facility study is a very good point. And, Rob and I have been on this board for a while now, and this was talked about for those years where that, we got to look at, the shrinking student size and where we're at. And what are we at, like, for number-wise? We're less than half of what we used to be, probably in the early 2000s, right?
10,000 less.
Yeah, so we've shrunk significantly, but it doesn't mean we can't come back, right? And there's opportunity, as was mentioned, through Sapansky and early, kindergarten, universal kindergarten. So I would really love a facility study, and I hope we can look at that as a board sooner than later, and maybe even start the conversation with it at maybe our next COW meeting. And then on the other end, I think of, though, you got to keep up with the other school districts, or you're going to lose out. Other school districts are doing things and innovative, and where we're located, people can go to West Bloomfield, they can go to Clarkston, they can go to Huron Valley, they can go to these other school districts. But on the other hand, you also don't want to be in a position where you're putting all this money into a building that we then could close at some point, because then we've just poured that money into it. So it definitely is tough. But I think it's a very valid point on the facility study. For me, I would like to see the facility study, but I'm inclined to support it because I do think that we're in a position where we have all these other school districts and they're doing renovations, they're doing things. And sometimes this is a bit of a gamble. I'm trying to be prudent with the money, and I would like to see a facility study though sooner than later.
Yeah, I think we can add that on too. We can look at the agendas for the COW meetings and see where we can add that in. It's definitely been top of mind, and it's something that, it does need to be done, but it won't be done in time. I mean, that is not something that the administration, whether it's a firm that we hire or we have our administrators do it, that would be done. It would take quite a few months to have that complete.
When they're doing that, can they give us like updates, like on like where is this headed, kind of thing? You're not going to get the end result. I understand it'd take a few months, could take 4 or 5 months, but when we get into it, could it tell us kind of where we're headed with this? How this is looking?
I would think Lisa could speak to that more than I could.
I think it depends on whether or not you're hiring an outside firm or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we are doing it internally, which I'm not saying we should be, but if we were, of course, we're going to update you whenever you want to be updated.
Right.
A firm would have their own process that they use, and they would choose to do that for a reason. And when you hire a firm, that would be part of the interviewing, is to ask them those types of questions. So I think it's just dependent on who does it.
Member Sonnekrant?
I agree with what everybody's saying about a building utilization, but the fact that I know it would cost money to move the equipment, but if the equipment could be moved. But looking at our community, there's so many schools when they do close, they don't sell them right away. And the equipment is for the kids in the community as well. And I see a lot of kids using the school playgrounds in the summer and on breaks and such. And because it is in the bond, I tend to agree that I would be supporting it.
Are there any other comments and questions? Member Patricia, sorry, turn to the left, not to the right.
And again, I would stress that we do utilization study as quick as possible. We don't need a new superintendent. I would prefer to go outside. And again, they would have nothing to do with that, and that would keep them clean. They didn't have any skin in the game. If we have that, and a suggestion to be made by an outside contractor, when they come in, they could act on it. And I could feel much more comfortable about spending money, because right now, I can't spend money in my schools. Again, you're talking about how you put the playground in, you have to put in the drain tile and everything else. That costs more than the equipment does. And again, we have put in playgrounds. Our bond proposal says we're constructing, equipping, developing, and improving sites, including athletic fields and facilities, playgrounds. We've already done all that. We have met our bond obligation. We're not saying we're not going to do this, but I can't do it without direction of, hey, we're just pissing away money again, because I've done that way too many times up here, and I can't do it anymore. So, that's where I'm at.
All right, anyone else? Member McGregor?
So I actually have a question as a new board member. So it is my understanding bond money is completely separate from all of our other monies. It can only be used for capital expenses. For something like a site utilization study, my understanding is that could not come from bond funds. Is my understanding on that correct?
A billing utilization study would be separate from our bond series. It would not be part of our bond dollars, no.
So
it would be a separate entity.
Okay.
So that's where we would have to decide as a board, and we will add it to one of our cow agendas, how we would like to do the billing utilization study, whether we would want to hire an outside firm or whether or not we would want to have it in-house. So, but either way, it would take a significant amount of time to get the study done.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem. All right, any other comments or questions? Oh, Member Ristich?
Carla, how much are the walking paths?
We did not ask for a price breakout on the walking paths. It was all part of the site category. So yes, and all the schools, they have different paths. Some have more, some have less, depending on what's in place right now. So.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
So, yeah, the walking paths, it's for the site contractor. We did not get the pricing separated from the site contractor. All the paths are a little bit different. They all go around, but in different formations. Some schools had some areas that had already walk paths in place, so we might be going off of them. It might not be as extensive as at a different school that didn't have walk paths in place. So.
But the paths are included in it?
Yes, they all will have walk paths and that, yes.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right.
Are we comfortable to vote on this?
Yeah, I guess that would be the question. Is everyone comfortable to vote? Do we? Member Donahue? Someone said Member Pat?
In the spirit of honoring the community that voted for the bond, this has passed. This information was already in the bond, and this is expected by our constituents. This is expected by the community that voted for the bond back in 2020. It really shouldn't be a question of voting for it at this point in time, and we need to get this done. Obviously, there might be in a facility study at some point in time down the road, the recommendation for a closure of a building may come across to us that we have to take a vote on. That is a very long process of involving all the unions, involving everybody, of the displacement of staff and everything else. So this isn't something that if we were looking at, let's hold off to do the playgrounds until we do this study. It's not right. We need to do this now. We need to vote for these things now. And then once this study is done and if the board truly has the spine to close the school, because I can guarantee you this place will be filled with community members and kids not wanting their school closed, then at that point in time, moving the playground equipment will be a very insignificant vote that we have to take compared to all the rest of the votes we're going to be taking, displacing staff and everything else. So I'm ready to vote for this and in favor of it. And I totally understand everybody's opinion on the board, 100%. I get it. And I want a facilities study done. I love Rob's idea. Let's put it on our interim superintendent, and then so
done before that.
Yeah, and but truly, I mean, on the fact that way, when a new superintendent does step in, if it's not complete by that point in time, it will be completed soon after, and then we are giving that direction and that directive to whoever the new superintendent is. And but I'm ready to vote for this.
And I do think there is absolute consensus on the fact that we do need to have a billing utilization study done sooner versus later, and it's something we need to add to a recent or a soon-to-be agenda so that we can, as a board, decide how we want to move forward with that and how we want to have that handled.
If we didn't vote on it tonight, then it moves it out to either our next COW or our next board meeting, but then that puts the timeline back then, correct? So making it so that we may not finish the project on time. So we're at a point where we have to plan, and vote now, really, right?
Right, that's correct. It's mostly playground equipment has a long lead.
Yeah, so, and yeah, it's, my reasoning is I look at it by the idea is that our goal is to get more students and to keep up with other districts around that are doing these kinds of things and these renovations. I liked, Member Sancrate's point about the fact that, kids do use these even when the school's closed. And I've certainly have taken my kids over the years to the different schools. And if, we end up in a situation, hopefully we never do, but we've been through that in this district before where we've had to close schools. And it wasn't pretty. And I remember when my oldest was in second grade and they closed Leggett. And I remember being at that board meeting and speaking in public comment. And there were little kids there and Rob was up there, I remember. Yeah, and then again in the 2000s, when we went through some of the other school closures, I think, was it the elementary over there? I can't remember, Sandburg, and a few of the others, and it's never a pretty sight because it's Prairie, closed Prairie. My nephew was in 6th grade there, and he was really upset. So it's never a good thing, but ultimately, as board members, we're tasked with making difficult decisions. And then we have to, you're a trustee, so you're entrusted to utilize your background, your knowledge, your conscience, So I think that's what we'll do. Thank you.
And I do think it's important for our listening public for them to also understand billing utilization studies do not mean school closure. So I think that's an important piece. So I don't want to give the wrong impression that we think that that's what this will do. It's also to see how efficient your buildings are running. And we have other property and other facilities. So it's kind of a study of how your district is functioning with what you have. So I don't want to, none of us here obviously would, are looking to do anything that is drastic or heartbreaking to any of our families or our community. So I want to make sure that we have that takeaway, that is not always the end result of what a study would do. It's just for us to see, are we operating in a way that is efficient and good for our community and for our student and staff. All right, well, let's, Member McGregor, did you have another comment?
I just had a quick one. I just wanted to kind of reiterate what you're saying, that a site study is not just about closing schools, it's about knowing where you are so that you can go get where you're trying to go, right? Because you can't do one without the other. And site utilization studies aren't just about closing schools, they could be reorganizing, for instance, like universal pre-K. It could be moving different schools. Like I think when my mom was in the district, they had a different split with Mason. It didn't have the same grade levels in the schools that we have now. But I also wanted to say that I do appreciate what Board Member Patricia is bringing up, because it is hard to bring those things up. And I remember when my mom was on the board, and I remember the difficult decisions that they had to make. So I appreciate that you are saying that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried, 6-1. All right, moving on to Treasurer Donahue for PA systems. Oh, sorry. All those against. I apologize, Member Truccia. Thank you. I heard your nay.
Okay.
It's my first full business meeting as president. Getting all the bugs out. All right, Treasurer Donahue?
Superintendent's recommendation 50-24-25, T5 PA systems. It is recommended that the board approve the award to AMCOM for the Atlas IED system in the amount of $2,548,992.70 at the following school buildings: Beaumont, Cooley, Donaldson Hills, Grayson, Haviland, Houghton, Knutson, Riverside, Schoolcraft Elementary Schools, Mason Middle School, Pierce Middle School, Durant High School, Kettering High School, Mott High School, and Kingsley Montgomery School. Funding is through the 2020 bond. I so move.
Support.
All right, the motion has been moved and supported. Are there any comments or questions? Member Patricia?
To save time, the argument I use for the playground equipment.
Member Torres?
The same thing that, when I was looking at both of them, they kind of are connected as far as, the facility utilization study that we'll do, or that we hope to do. With these schools, these systems, weren't they were, the other schools weren't included, right, because they already had what they needed? Is that correct?
All schools are included.
Oh, every school is included? Okay.
With the exception of Stefanski, because Stefanski.
That was it. Okay, because,
Which we would look at after, and if legislation changes, we could add or look at a different system for Stefanski, but this one includes all of our main.
okay, and it was Stefanski as well, okay.
Would you like to come to the table, Ms. Cushing? I was trying not to interrupt while you're answering, then that way we can make sure that people can hear your answer.
No, that's my fault.
No, it's okay.
Sorry, guys. It includes all buildings except Stefanski, so it's all of our K-12 buildings. Since Stefanski just had a system installed and is working perfectly fine, we don't want to disrupt that, but we know if legislation changes where the strobes and everything and the color changes have to be added, we would look at Stefanski and bring that forward.
And this is a little bit preemptive because legislation is being proposed to change, so we would have to do this regardless, correct?
Yep. And like we shared during information at the last meeting, knowing that we needed to go to a new PA system, we saw this as a perfect timing to do both as the same project.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Member McGregor?
And this is more for people listening. This is a really big deal for anybody that might have hearing difficulties. They'll actually be able to see if there is an emergency, kind of like what you would have in a hotel room where you have the flashing lights. That is so important that all of our students can be safe in an emergency. And that's not the only functionality that helps with safety. And I think that's really important for people to know.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Member Patricia?
And AMCOM is the contractor, manufacturer. There's 3 different ones, and we've picked Atlas IED.
Yes. So
The other 2 were a little less.
So we had our committee come together, and then we also provided video of that to other stakeholders who wanted to have input. Atlas IED has all of the, I don't want to call bells and whistles, but has all the features that we wanted. CareHawk was a little more of a system that didn't have as smooth of a glide as people thought it would, and Velcom was one people just did not like the look of. It was a little hard to the eyes. It was more of a digital signage, so the lights were very bright. It was trickier to see. Atlas was the one stand out that everyone on the committee wanted, and then those other stakeholders, 70% came in and identified that was the product we wanted to go with. As far as AMCOM goes, that's a contractor we've worked with in multiple projects. So we're very happy to say bring them on board again and see that they had 3 products for us to work with.
There's also a 7-year licensing for our old PA system just worked. It's worked for 50, 60 years in our building. It cracks up, doesn't always work. No lights, no bells, nothing fancy.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to buy a license for it. This is a license and it's electronic, so that means it's going to either fail completely or it's going to be obsolete in 7 years.
Yeah, and that's the reality of the systems now. Since everything's going technology-wise or IP-based, and I know we talked about this at the last meeting, there's no guarantee, right? Systematically, the speakers and everything that we're building in this will go 10 to 15, maybe 20-plus years. But yeah, what technology looks like 5, 6 years from now, I don't know the answer to that.
And I understand, I'm just throwing that out there because
Yeah.
$2.5 million for something in buildings that may or may not be here for this use. And without that building utilization study, I'm spending money without
Oh, I know.
a direction. I like to have direction.
Yeah, and that's one thing why we really looked at, we knew our PA systems needed to be replaced, looking at what we could also bring on as a security standpoint. So again, marrying those two together into one project. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just a quick thing on that. So my understanding is that they'll probably, like obviously we don't know the future, right? But a lot of these things that are going to be updated, there's a significant difference between what it was in the past versus what it is now. And most of those technologies are more similar as we're moving forward, typically, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So we wouldn't necessarily have to rewire the entire school, for example.
Exactly. No,
Right?
that is exactly the nice piece of this. So this is the full package, right? So 5, 6 years down the line, if there's a change in technology, then it might be we need to have a small purchase and update the software. Or it's a matter of this one needs to be replaced. We also have a warranty built within this bid. Just thinking through that, this is the whole thing, building the whole infrastructure, where that time would be replacing. And kind of to answer the other question is, all of these pieces, except for the wiring, would be movable. So if a facilities study showed that something needs to be tweaked or changed, we can move all of those except for the wiring.
All right, any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? All right, motion carries 6-1. And now it's on to me. President's recommendation, Recommendation 54-24-25, relative to MASB Board of Directors Election 2025. The MASB Board of Directors is comprised of elected representatives of active member school boards. The board shall oversee MASB activities, establish operating policies for MASB, speak for member boards between meetings of the delegate assembly, and appoint an executive director who shall administer the affairs of MASB. The Waterford School Board of Education is asked to cast a vote for one candidate seeking a 3-year term for Region 8. Candidate information has been provided to the board for review. Member Torres has expressed support for Paul Collin from Bloomfield Hills. Are there any other candidates to be considered? Is there anyone else that anyone would like to be considered? Or, all right.
I can speak to Mr. Collin real quick, so you guys are aware. I'd sent Kristen an email and Megan when I saw these, and I know a few of them sent us emails and stuff. But Mr. Collin, he's been a Bloomfield Hills School Board member for several years. Worked with him extensively on the Legislative Committee through Oakland County, now known as the Government Relations Committee. We've been to Lansing several times to advocate for school funding over the years. He's been to Washington, D.C. to push for increased IDEA funding. He's got 2 kids that came up through the Bloomfield Hills School District. One of them, I think, is at Duke, and the other one's at Michigan State University. And just all around, the people in Bloomfield really do love him. The students, I should say, really do love him. But he's always just been somebody who you can see truly has a passion and advocacy and is in the school board position and embraces that role of being an advocate for kids and students. So for that, I really, I'm in support of Mr. Collin.
And it's always good to have someone from our own county representing us for Region 8, so that's always, it's important to have somebody that is close to home, that understands our challenges and what's happening in our own county. Comments or questions? Member Donahue?
Yeah, I second what John Paul has stated, Trustee Torres has stated. I've had conversations with the MASB a couple times now over the last few years in regards to this, because our region is Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne County, the three largest counties in the state and most populated, and we have one representative for that, and it's not set up correctly for it, but Paul Collin is I second that 100%. We need someone from Oakland County, and for the reasons that John Paul stated.
All right, well, seeing no further nominations, all those in support of Paul Collin, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 7-0. All right, we are moving on to public comment on non-action items. We will take public comment now. I don't have any green cards. Ms. Crate, would you like to head to the podium? I will do our little spiel. I know you're very familiar with it. Please be reminded that comments are limited to 3 minutes in duration. Members of the public are invited to share comments. However, this is not intended to be a time for questions and answers. And lastly, participants may speak only once on the same topic and are asked to avoid statements that are personally directed, abusive, or obscene. Welcome, Ms. Crate.
Hi. Thank you for allowing me to talk. When I woke up Tuesday morning, getting ready for work, I thought how lucky I was to work in Waterford, because on Tuesday morning, it was 39 years ago, Tuesday morning, that I walked into my very first classroom in the Waterford School District. It was Mason Junior High. Scared to death at 22 and a half years old. Oh my God, I'm teaching 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. What am I going to do, right? And I've had an amazing career. I don't plan on going anywhere. And as somebody who now has a job who absolutely loves data, Darren knows, when we left Houghton in June, we had about 244 kids, and the joke was, oh my God, we can't lose any more kids. We can't, I want to stay here, want to keep working here, and how many kids are we going to have? And then we got word we were getting JK, so we knew, okay, that's going to be about 20 more. So if we don't lose any kids, that should give us about, hopefully, 250, 260. As of yesterday, Houghton Elementary School hit 300 kids, and somebody who tracks all the data for every kid in the building, it's amazing. You just keep bringing them. It's okay. I said I'll stand out in the front. We have all the new subdivisions, hoping to keep turning that around. But it's amazing to have 300 kids now at Houghton. Mainly why I came up here is I wanted to take time to welcome Lisa back. As somebody who's worked very hard along with Lisa for many years, this is my 8th year as the union president. I was thrilled to have Lisa coming back with our entire contract being open. I feel like we have the best of both worlds, having Lisa and Susan here to work together with us. I'm really hopeful, and I just wanted to take time to welcome Lisa back, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Crate. Are there any other community members that would like to do public comment? All right. We are going to move on to board reports. Are there any board reports this evening? Oh, Member Sonnecritt?
I went to the youth assistance meeting last night. I'm so excited. I'm back where I was in the 90s, late 80s. But I just wanted to touch on 3 things they were talking about, and I don't expect anything to be done on them tonight. But one of the things they were talking about is they don't have a new place yet, and the place that they have now, they're having a problem because it closes at 4, and the person that does the interviewing and works with the kids needs it till 6. So they're looking for a place, so maybe that's something that we can talk about. They want to come in and actually get on our agenda, and I didn't know how to do that. They want to do a presentation about what youth assistance does, because there's so many new teachers and administrators in the district that may not know what a wonderful program it is. So if they can get that opportunity, I know that they will love it. The other 2 things were the Betty Fertino Award is, the applications are out, and we're hoping that students will apply. As of right now, there are no applicants, so let's get this information out to the students. And also youth recognition. They've gone into churches and all kinds of places around the community, but when I was doing it, we used to have 90 to 100 students that we'd recognize, and now they're down to 30. I think there's a lot more good in the community, and we really need to get these kids up and honored for what they're doing. So that's what I want to do.
All right, thank you. Are there any other board reports? Member Torres?
I was able to attend the Government Relations Committee meeting, which was yesterday as well, and Member McGregor was there also. So we were both there to represent Waterford School District. Learned about some new initiatives, continued initiatives through Oakland County. One of the things that they spoke about, Dave Woodward actually came to speak with us about the Acorn to Oak program, which provides mini grants for children 8 to 18 years of age in Oakland County, so those are our students. And it's for business entrepreneurship initiatives, so they come up with an idea and they can translate that into an actual mini grant to start up on their business. And then additionally, I didn't realize, they also afford monies for educational programs and for extracurricular programs up to $1,000. So those are usually like add-on type things in the summer, opportunities. A lot of the high school kids, my daughter used to do that, go to the colleges during the summer and do a early college program. So it's really helpful to those parents that, they might not have the money, or it might be difficult for them to have the money to provide that for their youth. And Oakland County can step in. They have to write a mini grant, and then it goes before a committee, and then the committee, can grant it or deny it or tell them what they need to tweak or change. So I thought that was awesome. Then we talked about the governor's upcoming budget. There'll be a 4.1% increase, is what is the proposal, which should be up to approximately $10,000 per student. There's going to be an increase in the literacy fund, $258 million in ongoing mental health and safety. There'll be $61 million expanded to the pilot pre-K for 3-year-olds. And then they're continuing the free school meal programs, but the caveat to that is what's happening at the federal level and any new restrictions that could be placed on that, so it not be open to all families. And then they talked about several of the board members from Oakland County, 25 of them, went to the Washington, D.C. for the Education Advocacy Conference. And they went and spoke with the legislators and talked to them primarily about federal funding and IDEA funding for our students, and some of the new executive orders that have come out. So anybody who hasn't had an opportunity, encourage you to do that. I've had an opportunity to do it, and going to DC and being able to speak to them in Capitol Hill is something that actually really does have an impact. So, but we had good representation from Oakland County. 25 board members went. That's it.
All right. Any other reports? Member Ristich?
Real quick one. A shout out to our Pierce Middle School Orchestra tonight. They were supposed to have had their practice for festival coming up in March. Unfortunately, it was canceled. So, but big shout out to them because they're an amazing group, and I know that Ms. House is working hard to try to get that practice in sometime next week. Big shout out to our Kettering captains, who I believe are rescheduled the board lunch for tomorrow. So go get them, captains. That's amazing. And I think I'm bummed out again. I got to work tomorrow. I had a chance to go to the State of the Township, and that was amazing. And Mr. Howley did an amazing job presenting all of the wonderful things that we're up to here in the Waterford School District. So, Darren, thank you. And finally, welcome Lisa.
All right, any other reports? Member McGregor?
I just wanted to give a shout out. Trinity Murray sang the national anthem at the Fireworks and Flannels event, and she did an amazing job. It was great representation for our district, and we had a number of elementary students come out to do the 1K, which was amazing. So thanks. Good job, everyone.
All right, and I had the opportunity to attend the Head Start meeting 2 Fridays ago, and Rob was right, they do have snacks.
Do they?
They still have snacks. It was wonderful to be part of that. I was honored to be able to be part of that committee and to learn a little bit more about what's going on with our Head Start programs and GSRP within Stepanski, and it's very amazing engaged parents, so it was a really, really cool opportunity. I'd also like to congratulate the Waterford Kettering dance team. They were at Nationals this past weekend, and they ended up earning 15th in hip-hop for the nation, so that was amazing. So good job, captains. I'd also like to send a big good luck out to our Mott Corsairs, who will be competing this weekend, our dance team, at Brandon High School in the Starshine competition. So if you have nothing going on Saturday around 1:40, and you want to come check out the Mott dance team, I will be there. So come cheer our girls on. And there was one other thing. I can't remember what it was, but as always, there's always amazing things going on. So good job, captains, though, and hopefully the Corsairs will come home with a big trophy as well. All right, we are now going to go into closed session by roll call vote. The board will recess to closed session in accordance with Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act. Secretary Ristich, please take the roll call vote.
Member Petrucia, please.
Is this going to take long?
No.
Okay, yes.
Member Songkran.
Yes.
Member Torres.
Yes.
Member Wagner.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Member Donahue. Yes. Member McGregor.
Yes.
7-0.
All right. We will take a quick bathroom break, and then we will